Hey guys, how are you all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. Today what I have for you guys is another film review, and today we're tackling the 2019 reboot of Hellboy. Now before I get started, I do have to say a few things. Again, I did not look at any of the, I'm kind of lying. It has a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. I had to look. But I didn't actually read any real reviews, so, I'm not under the impression of something before going in. It's doing really bad. I mean, it's a hell of a flop, basically, for Hellboy. Hellboy's a hell of a flop. But on another note, I did not see any of the other Hellboy films. The first one, The Golden Army, what else here? The third one, Sword of Stones, Blood and Iron. I didn't see any of those previous, so I heard Ron Perlman knocked it out of the park. I'm sure he did. But going into this, again, I don't really know. I didn't even read the comics, the Dark Horse comics. I know a few things, but I'm not, well-versed in Hellboy lore. So going into this, I was a little nervous because, A, everyone hates it. Again, I don't trust anyone but myself, but still. And then also, there's so many things that you have to know going into it. Thankfully, you don't have to know that much for this reboot, and yes, it is a complete wash-away reboot. Just take everything you know from all of them and throw out the window. This is a complete new thing. But going into it, I have to say I really did enjoy it. There are a lot of people saying it sucks and that it's this and that it's that, and I do have a few gripes with it, but for the most part, I have to say that I found myself really having a good time with Hellboy. I was really surprised by that because, everyone's in the world is like, it sucks, and I'm just like, it can't be that bad, and it really wasn't. Again, this is all my opinion, so don't get that mad at me if you hated it, or, hopefully you liked it, I don't know, but I did really, really, really enjoy it. Now for the plot, it's basically like a mixture of Blade and King Arthur, like Kid would be king. If you saw that movie, see that movie, it's really good. All these mythical type creatures, Baba Yaga, all these kind of things are making their way into the Hellboy lore, which is really cool. Now again, if I get some things wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't see the movies or read the comics. I literally just saw this movie right now today, so I need to get versed in it though. It's pretty interesting. But going into this, again, the plot, it's pretty simple. You got David Harbour, who plays Hellboy. I think he did a great job. He was really funny. He was charismatic. He was, he was a badass, basically. There's a lot of cool... Maya Jokovic, I don't know how the heck to pronounce your name. Nemu, the Blood Queen. I can't even remember how to pronounce that, and I just came out of the movie. I'm bad with that. But... the Blood Queen is trying to resurrect herself after King Arthur chopped the head off in the battlefield. And they kind of, dump her body in these little components, these little chests across the world. And they hope no one finds it, but there are forces trying to find it, which is pretty bad. There's a lot of CGI monsters involved, which is pretty cool, and but yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty much run-of-the-mill stuff. Hellboy is trying to destroy an evil queen from turning the world into her own craziness. As far as the plot goes, like I said, right there, it's pretty generic, but it also goes a long way. There's a lot of heart to it in the very end, and there's a lot of, key factors at work, a lot of, I don't want to say character development, but you do genuinely care for these characters over the course of the film. You don't really as much, but then they start to grow on you, and you start to go, oh, that's kind of cool, or she's hurt, he's hurt, I hope they don't die, or hope that, So, going into that, yeah, the plot's generic, but just like some other plots that are generic, they work, and this one really does work. As far as the actors, again, David Harbour, Jokovic as Sasha Lane playing Alice, Ian McShane, who was in Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides, he was Blackbeard, playing Professor Broom. They all do a great job. Lobster Johnson's in this, Thomas Hayden Church, so yeah, they do a lot of cool things that are for comic fans and for general fans. Again, this is a reboot, so they can't go too much into it, but they just went enough, in my opinion. So, plot was really good, actually. The actors were great. Now it's time for... let's cover the CGI. It's not the best. Of course, this is a Dark Horse film. It is not DC, and it is not Marvel. However, it is a superhero movie, and it is a comic book-based movie. Just because it isn't DC, and just because it isn't Marvel, doesn't mean anything. Kingsman is a comic book film, for God's sake. Not many people know that. It's a spy film. No, it originated from a comic book called The Secret Service. Just like, Kick-Ass, all these types of, if it's not DC and it's not Marvel, a lot of people tend to overlook it, for good reason, because, they're not as widely loved and respected as that. But going into this, yeah, Hellboy is a Dark Horse film, but it's actually really good, and I really did enjoy it. But CGI, back to that for a second, it's not the best, but again, it's not terrible. There are a lot of instances where you look up in the sky and you say, oh, that's CGI. But it's not terrible. And then you'll get to the blood. And, of course, this movie is rated R, so you have to be 17 to see it instead of the other Hellboy movies, which were 13 up. So it's a little bit more mature, and I'd say there's no sex scenes, there's no sex stuff really at all in this, which is, for that. But there is a lot of strong language, F-words, all that. It's not as much as Deadpool, there's only around 20. And then there's a crap ton of gore. I mean, it is by far the goriest film I've ever seen. It's not as bad as a horror film, but if you think Kingsman, Deadpool, Logan, Kick-Ass, Punisher, Blade, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, all these other R-rated comic book films, in my opinion, Hellboy is the goriest. Now, going into that, the CGI blood does look fine, doesn't look bad. It has to be CGI, of course, duh. But again, going back to the CGI, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. There's some instances where you're like, oh, that's cool. It looks alright. Again, this isn't going to be as big budget as Infinity War, Endgame, or Aquaman or Shazam. It is Dark Horse, so it's not going to be the most top tier in terms of what they're going for here. But it did suffice, and it did look good. I think that the CGI, however, is one of the weakest parts of this film. There are a few hips and dips in terms of the story, and it's a little confusing, but I followed along, basically. But for non-Hellboy fans, you're not going to really know most of the references. And for Hellboy fans, you're going to freaking love the references, so that's that for you. But, again, I think that the weakest points would be the CGI for sure. And, I mean, the story's fine, but the editing's fine, but it's just kind of wonky in terms of, like, okay, we're going there, and then Hellboy's having a vision from Baba Yaga, and then he goes back to the elevator, and then they're doing that, and then this, and then that. It's just, I don't know how to word it. It's not bad, but it's not the most structured film in terms of where it's going, in terms of the plot. That's not the worst thing in the world, though. I mean, it's, I'm not going to give it a D because of that, but, there's that, and there's the CGI. But another negative, I guess, I'm not going to add this toward my grade in the final end here, but Hellboy worked as a PG-13 film, and mind you, I never saw Hellboy PG-13, never. But from what I could gather, is that it worked as a PG-13 film because it just worked. There were different elements at play. But now for this reboot, they were like, oh, let's make a new Hellboy, but we're going to make it rated R, and we're going to make it gory and bloody and swear words. That's cool, right? Kids love swear words. Fuck yeah. However, it does work. Alright? The gore, yeah, I'm a dude. I'll admit it. I don't like gore. Alright? I don't wince and go, I don't do that. But I don't go to an R-rated movie saying, yeah, there's a shit ton of blood in this. Awesome. I just kind of go, oh, okay, there's blood in this. Big deal. Is what it is. But for them to add that into a movie that was PG-13 and trying to make it R, I mean, the blood looks fine, but I think that it went too over the top, and I get it, they're trying to be over the top, but there's a scene toward the end where these demons are going through the streets, and I mean, it's, Jesus Christ, I mean, sorry for swearing, but man, it's bad. I mean, like, people get their faces ripped off, and bunch of things. People get stabbed through the face and their eyes, and I mean, it's very, for the faint of heart, it wouldn't be for you, really. Again, is this gore level of horror? No. But is this the goriest comic book film I've ever seen? Yes, without a doubt. Logan, Deadpool, Kingsman, Kick-Ass, yeah, they're gory. But it's got nothing on this Hellboy movie. And again, I don't complain about that. I'm not going to say, oh, it has blood and swear words, F. I just don't think it fit too well with Hellboy, considering how well it did before without those things. But again, they're trying something different, so, kudos to them. And it mostly did work. There aren't a whole lot of F-words, so it was mostly funny when they did it. Or, it was like, whatever. And then the blood, it is super violent, but again, it lends itself to the comics, and it does work in terms of a Hellboy film, but if you just come fresh off of the PG-13 into this R-rated film, you're gonna be like, what the heck is this? I didn't want this. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's doing so poorly, is because it's rated R, and not many people wanted that, I mean, okay, yeah, cool, just because something's rated R doesn't mean you need a lot of F-words and tons of buckets of gore, You don't need all that, to make a movie good. And this movie is good with it. However, seeing that, from that, I don't know, it just didn't translate too well, but again, it did work to a degree. But yeah, I mean, overall, guys, I really did like Hellboy. It does not deserve at all what it's been getting critically. And I can respect your opinion if you don't like it, but for me, I really did enjoy it. I thought it was funny. I thought it had awesome action scenes, especially in the end. It had really cool CGI. Some of it was pretty bad, especially like the pig boar monster thing. That looked like shite. But some of them, I mean, it dips. What do you expect? It's Hellboy. It's not Infinity War or Dark Knight Rises. But plot was pretty much good. The script was really fine. I didn't mind that. And again, in terms of negatives, I would say the CGI, and I would say a little bit of the plot. It goes a little here and there, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, the editing's fine with that. But yeah, I mean, going into it, after seeing so many negative reviews for movies, I just tend to go bullschnook on that at that point. I mean, there are so many movies that people hate. I mean, I'm talking The Last Jedi, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Kingsman The Golden Circle, the Lego Ninjago movie, Hellboy. So many movies that either critics or fans just rip apart, and I go into it as a fan loving it, That's the power of opinions, I guess. So yeah, again, negatives would be CGI in the plot to a degree. And again, I don't really think it needed all that gore. It was a bit excessive, even for a dude like me who, I don't mind gore in films and video games. I don't care. It's just whatever. I know it's fake. But for Hellboy, I get it. It's Hellboy, but it went a little over the top. But again, that's not going to be a negative. That's just like a side note. So in the end, guys, I'm going to give Hellboy 2019 a B+. I thought it was really good. Again, the CGI really falters at some points, and the script or the plot could be a little bit more cohesive. But other than that, I thought it was a great film. I'm definitely going to buy Hellboy 2019 on Blu-ray and a box it for you guys. Again, I don't get the hate. I really did enjoy it, and it surprised the heck out of me. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Keep the bell icon tapped. Like this video. I haven't been getting a whole lot of likes, so let's like the video for every view. Let's get 1 like per view. That'd be awesome. But also, tell me in the comments below what you guys thought about Hellboy. Do you prefer Ron Perlman, or do you prefer, what's his name, David Harbour? What do you like? Do you like the older PG-13, so 13 to adult, or do you like the Hellboy new with just adult and up? So thank you guys very much for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys in the next video.